Innovation Unplugged from the Alabama Community College System's Innovation Center takes you inside Alabama's workforce development. Join us for enlightening conversations with community leaders and industry experts showcasing experiences, addressing key issues, and celebrating successes in the workforce initiatives across the state.
All right, so thanks for joining us for Innovation Unplugged today. I'm Brandi Merrill. I'm the Director of Curriculum Design for the Innovation Center, and we have
Julie Frizzell, Executive Director, Innovation Center.
And we have...
I'm Chad Sutton, Director of Workforce Development at Lurleen B, Wallace Community College in Andalusia, Alabama.
Ooh, big town of Andalusia.
All right, tell everybody where Andalusia is if they don't know in the state of Alabama where that's at.
So what I tell everybody is we are an hour and 20 minutes straight north of Destin.
Nice.
Good
Everybody's
reference
like,
point.
got it.
Yeah, that's great. Okay,
Yep.
but your accent is not from the South, so
It's not. Where
It
are
is
you from?
I'm from Northeast Indiana, clear up in the corner where it borders Michigan and Ohio. A little town called, well, it's not a little town, but from Fort Wayne area.
Fort Wayne, Indiana.
That's where we were born and raised. So
Nice. What is that area of Indiana kind of known for? Like your area, okay, well, you're close to the Gulf Coast and, you know, there's lots of farming in South Alabama and then you have peanuts and that kind of thing. What is that area of Indiana known for?
So it's Fort Wayne's a pretty big city. It's the second biggest city in Indiana. But the rural area where we're from, lots of farming, lots of agriculture, lots of livestock, lots of auto manufacturers in the area.
Gosh, so you just picked up from one place and came to the other. So,
really?
I mean, similar, right?
different climate, different
Yeah,
altitude.
definitely different climate, that's for sure.
Yeah, different climate for sure, but lots of manufacturing, lots of construction. Pretty vibrant area, really. It's cost of living is pretty good. It's growing. So it's like right in the middle of Chicago and say Cleveland.
Yeah.
Wow, great
We live
location.
those two cities. It's right in the middle, and so there's a lot of traffic. Detroit's straight north of us. Indianapolis
cool.
straight south.
Yeah.
So
What'd you do up there? Like what was your background?
So my background is a carpenter. So I had a construction company. It's kind of a funny story because all through life, I did construction as my summer jobs growing up. Poured concrete, you name it. Never thought of that as a viable career for me. Like, I'm going to college and I'm going to do this and do that. So I went to college and to play football and got an education degree to be a teacher. Came out, and at the time, and it would have been 1990 when I graduated, not a ton of teaching jobs available at that time. So my dad's like, you got to get a job. Okay. So I went to a lumber yard, had an ad in the paper. Within, a year, I was a manager at the lumber yard, starting to run it, and never left the construction business.
Within a year, became a manager.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Fast.
Yeah.
You must be really handy.
Absolutely. So where'd you, so I want to rewind on that just a little bit. So you said you went to play football in college. So did you play football in college?
Yeah. Yep. I
Who'd
played
you play
at
for?
University of Indianapolis.
Okay. What
Division
position?
II school. I was an offensive guard.
Okay. So tell me what an offensive guard it does. I happen to know.
Right
Just in
next to
case
the
we have
center.
listeners who don't follow football. I don't know how you could live in the state of Alabama and not know what an offensive guard does, but in either case.
I'm
Very
right,
good point.
right next to the center, and I
Uh-huh.
always joke they were the ones that tell the tackles what to do.
No, yeah.
Without us,
Yeah.
the boss.
Uh-huh. My son was an
Yeah.
offensive guard.
Mine's the center.
Well, and actually, he did play center too.
So I managed that lumber yard for a while, and then left the lumber yard to start my own construction business.
Yeah.
And I was a realtor. My wife was a realtor and a broker, and so we had our own real estate company and construction company, and did that for a long time. And then in 2008, 2009, when the economy was just horrific,
Tanking.
I had a administrator from the school district call me and say, hey, we lost our building trades teacher. I had been coaching football already. I was what they call a lay coach. And they said, would you be willing to come help us finish this house? So I said, it was February in Northeast Indiana, so not a lot.
I bet that was cold.
So I went over there to help them. They were at the drywall stage. I fell in love with it. Like, couldn't believe how cool it was to teach kids how to do this.
That's awesome.
They offered me the job full time and also wanted me to coach football. And the rest is kind of history. So I taught construction for about 14 years and became an administrator. Started a school within the school called the Career Development Program, where we contextualize all of our academics inside the hands-on activities. So I had math teachers and science teachers in our welding lab or out at the job site.
Wow.
English teachers teaching kids about, just English is about communication. It's not necessarily about Shakespeare.
Sure.
So we taught kids how to communicate. We brought in the industry into the classroom every week. It's an amazing program. It's still going on.
How smart is that?
Brought the relevancy to skills.
We had heavy equipment, construction, welding, and engineering.
So you were doing Skills for Success before Skills for Success was actually cool. What is that? Before country?
That's what I told Houston.
Country was cool? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I tied it together with our community college and getting dual enrollment credits, and actually brought the community college into my school. I hired some of their instructors, did an MOU with them.
That's awesome.
And we had kids graduating from college when they were graduating from high school.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That's how it should happen.
It should.
So one question that we've asked a lot of the guests is, where were you when you heard about Skills for Success? And so I don't know who first pitched Skills for Success to you. Like, where were you? When's the first time you heard about Skills for Success or the Innovation Center? And so if for any of our listeners that are kind of picking up in the episode or what have you, we'll kind of do our quick elevator pitch. So I'll give you a second to think about your answer, Chad. So Innovation Center, arm, branch, department, division, the Alabama Community College system that develops Skills for Success courses. So I'll bounce it back and ask this question again. Where did you first hear of the Innovation Center or Skills for Success, Chad?
So I think it was, so this December will be 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So last summer is when I met Julie at that thing in Birmingham. What was that called? Like a statewide event. And the ACCS had Innovation Center had something there with ACCS. And
was it
that's
ACCA?
No.
No.
It was like some kind of games, some kind of world games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The World Game.
The World Game.
That's the
Is that what they were? In that.
That seems like eons ago, doesn't it?
Oh, so he's talking like a year and a half ago, because that was not this past summer. It was summer of 20.
Correct. And then, so before that.
22. Sorry, summer of 22.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before that, it would have been in the spring of that year is when I heard Mara maybe talking about it at an event for workforce officers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I started thinking, so my wheels started turning. I'm like, so I don't know a lot about the system, but this I do. Like, I know about this. This is right up my wheelhouse.
It sounded really familiar,
excited.
didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet it did to you.
Pretty excited when I heard it was coming out and what it was going to be. I was just pumped up about it.
So you said you were pretty new. So tell that story. So how you came to Alabama from Indiana.
So when I was in Indiana, I had some national contacts and some recognition. Like NCCR really promoted what we did in the school we built. I was on their I still am on their National Workforce Development Committee and a couple other things, and got to speak at a lot of conferences. So they bring me at the ACT conferences. So I would speak for them at those things. I won the Harbor Freight Tools for School contest in 2020.
That's cool.
Fun.
Squarely in the middle of COVID.
Yeah. So you know how they bring the big pictures or big checks to everybody, all
Yeah.
the winners? They didn't do that for me because
Oh,
they just sent mine in the mail.
Too many
Yeah.
hands on the check.
I mean, like literally April of 2020 was what, like a month after we went on lockdown. So did you get that big old check in the mail? Like, oh, I don't even know if was mail running then. I'm not even sure. I don't
We did
remember.
a celebration on Zoom. That's how.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was the sign of the times.
But it's a great organization. It's something I'll be a part of forever. You know, and I
Oh.
go every summer to conferences and meet other teachers and talk to them. It's a lot of fun.
That's good.
And it's great.
That's good.
Well, that caught the eye of Dr. Kelly when he was I think he was with the State Department at the time in the workforce.
Uh-huh.
So he reached out on one of the social media networks, and I returned his message, and we just started talking. And when he became the interim president, I texted him and I said, I can't believe. Oh, he actually introduced me to was the VR people.
The virtual reality people?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
I'm drawing a blank.
I am too.
I can see your face.
So
It doesn't matter. Go
Anyway.
ahead. None of us.
he
can.
introduced me to them. I brought them to my school in Indiana. We used their VR. We did a project with NCCR doing core curriculum over the VR, one of my classes. Well, anyway, so long story short, I texted him. I said, I can't believe I know somebody in Andalusia. Because we would travel through Andalusia going to Panama City every year for spring break.
Oh, wow.
So you had heard of Andalusia. Gotcha.
Yeah, so I knew about it, and he just laughed. Then about, I don't know, 6 months later or so, he messaged me and he said, hey, there's a position opening up I think you should look at.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
You have
We
been.
flew down.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say my wife and I flew down to check it out, fell in love with the area, and thought, you know what? I never thought I would leave Indiana. I mean, I was set to retire there, just finish up at the high school. But something was just calling me to do this.
It was whispering. Skills for success.
I know who was calling me. You know,
Skills for success.
I honestly believe God called me down here.
I'm
Yeah.
sure. I'm sure.
And the rest is history. We love it.
Wonderful. Well, you've been an
fun.
early adopter of Skills for Success. I mean, for the listeners, Chad, how many courses of Skills for Success have you run? Do you know? I mean, I could look it up pretty quickly, but it's a lot.
I don't think I know that. I'd be curious what that is.
Okay. Well, we'll have to do a little research. I'd have to push pause on the podcast and go start doing some math, but it's been a lot. So you've been extremely successful in getting your community and your students. So just kind of walk us through the process of how you have taken something that began as like a concept initially. And, you know, as we began to roll out courses, you took those courses and you just ran with it. And you got your community involved. You put up billboards. You grabbed hold of every opportunity with business and industry around your area. And I mean, all 24 of the community colleges do a great job in doing that, but you really have found a niche in Andalusia and that small community and going out in the surrounding areas and pulling in those vital resources. So kind of tell us what's your... Well, there's something that we use inside the Innovation Center a lot, and it's how we make the sausage. So what is the recipe for sausage making in the Skills for Success model for Chad?
Well, I think what has been helpful to me is, number one, a president who just turns me loose and says, go.
Yeah, good leadership.
So important.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And number two, I think that I've been on the other side. I've not been a part of the community college system, you know, in Indiana or here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something I guess not a routine that I ever followed. But what you guys put together, I joke with Houston, you know, he jokes with me, but I say it's like I feel like I'm a player who just received the play call from the coach.
You're
all I'm
in,
doing
Chad.
is
You're in. Starting
all
line.
I'm doing is putting that into play.
Yeah.
And
It's good.
when it works, you just keep running it and you keep running it.
But what
And then you come
makes it work
different
for
ways.
you?
Chad up the middle.
Yeah, I know, right?
So-
Hand off to Chad.
I'm going to use a word that people might not like. It's not a bad word, but I whenever I talk at conferences, I'm always the guy that doesn't like the traditional way things happen. That's why I built the school I did.
This is
Hated
Innovation
school.
Unfiltered. You can be unfiltered, Chad. Let loose.
Okay. So legalism,
Uh-huh.
right? So if you think of that term,
Yep.
it's usually a bunch of gobbledygook that means nothing other than to some structure or system, right? Really doesn't have a ton to do with the outcome. It's hoops you have to jump through.
Mm-hmm.
So with my same thought of why I built the school I did in Indiana, I take these trainings and I'm thinking there's no goop. It's just straight training. It's what the industry wants. I'm telling you, the industry, and I don't want to get in trouble, first of all, but the industry does not want to send somebody to a 6 or 8 week course.
Right.
That's it.
Well,
Because
that's what we kept hearing.
the employee doesn't want to do that. They don't want to spend the time away from home, you know, whenever the classes are offered. They've already worked a full day. You know, you can offer these trainings to the industry and to people in the community and, you know, even high school students, and they're getting the meat and potatoes. Does it make them an expert to go out and lead somebody in that field? Probably not.
Of course not.
Man, does it shave a lot of time off, and it creates what it's meant for.
Yeah. It opens the door to opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when you roll it out to people like this, like CDL is a great example. And I still, when I talk at places, I'll get naysayers that'll be like, "You can't do Class A in a week."
Uh-huh.
You
Chad's
Like,
like,
well, I'm
watch.
doing it.
Yeah. Squat and watch,
You know?
baby.
I can't tell you how many people that we've helped get licensed, and they're like, "Well, you can't teach them how to shift gears in 4 days." I'm like,
Watch
no,
this.
but you have to talk to them and tell them you can't do that. Like,
Uh-huh.
you have to preface everything. And I don't know if people, maybe they just don't want to go out of the way of what they're comfortable with. But that brought me back to the way I did school. Like, why does math have to be taught this way?
Because that's
Why
how
can't you
it's
teach-
always been done, Chad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why can't you teach math at a gravel pit in the back of a dump truck and teach kids how much that material is? How, you know?
That would be
Kids
teaching
get
the
it.
relevancy of math.
Yeah.
Is relevancy important?
Should be.
Gosh, I think you
Extremely.
just hit the nail on the head, because that's exactly like what the core of each of these courses, I think, is really about, is trying to make it not only relevant for any type of learner, but it's also making it relevant to like business and industry, because that's the whole point.
Correct.
Is to kind of take away, to filter out all of those things that just don't matter.
Take
Like,
away the buffer is what it is.
Yeah.
Like you don't
Yeah.
need that all that extra that, okay, we're going to put it out there. Academia tells you
Yeah.
you have to have.
Right.
But seat hours, seat time, it's not about the
Ugh.
time in the seat. It's about the time in the experience
Correct.
and the application
Yeah.
that matters. So I love that you said that, because explain, like, through LBW, your college didn't currently have a CDL program or transportation training program, right? Prior
No.
to Skills for Success coming in.
No.
so
I
how'd you
tried
do
hard. I tried hard to fill classes the traditional way. Could never get it done. I mean, so much red tape. You know, people can't afford it. They try to go to WIOA. WIOA doesn't let them have the money. I mean, it's just on and on and on. It's like, my goodness,
it? Uh-huh.
there's got to be a better model out there. And then when this came out, I'm sorry, I went off track.
No, you're
I mean-
spot on track.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just when I told them what I wanted to start doing, and I didn't like jump into it feet first and or head first, whatever you want to say it, and not have a clue what I was doing. Like, you can ask Houston how many times I called it, how many times I bugged.
I think everybody in the state of Alabama
afraid
has
to pick up that phone and call or text and say, "Hey, show me, tell me, how do I do this?" Like, that's.
And I just wanted to make sure. Just wanted to make sure. But man, when we were able to do that first class, I told Dr. Kelly, I'm like, this is a home run. This is what the community is gonna want. This is what our businesses are gonna want.
What have you heard? What have you heard from your community and from your businesses? Like, what kind of feedback do you get? Because you do it in such a way that you have to be impacting. I mean, we know from kind of sitting here and watching it disperse to the 24 colleges, like what kind of impact. And we even get to see, luckily at the granular level, we go out to the labs and we see and we meet students and we hear those stories, but you're also getting not just the student experience story, but you're also getting like business and industry story too. So what kind of feedback are you getting from business and industry and community in your area about what you're doing and what Skills for Success helped you to do?
Unbelievable feedback as far as how thankful they are, how this is one of the first things that we can really say we're behind because it's our tax dollars at work.
Love that.
And the businesses will say that. They'll say this is exactly what we need, and it's our tax dollars at work. Like, you're exactly right. They appreciate the efficiency of the programs, like not drawn out any longer than it has to be, because it's about competency,
right?
And that's the way the world is now.
It is.
Sometimes if we think any differently than that, we're thinking more about ourselves or some kind of structure, the bricks and mortar or whatever. We're not thinking about the actual training and the skill that can be developed when somebody is competent with something. That's how we should. Like, don't get me started on letter grades, because I can go to letter grades.
Oh, I could too. Absolutely.
Tear it up because I hate it.
Well, you think like we were just like a generation or a generation and a half ago where skills training was embedded in every high school. You had home ec, you had shop class, you had woodworking class, you had all of those things, and there are a lot that do still have those.
But they went away for a while.
They did, and we lost focus. I think on a whole generation of kids, really, of folks that just didn't have that hands-on ability or focus, I guess. And I think we kind of lost our way with that. And now it seems as though, not just because of Skills for Success, I think, but just in general, like across the nation, we're seeing that, hey, if we can't do this ourselves, then we become reliant on, other people or other nations or whatever. So, how nice it is to be able to, build something on your own or whatever. So
it's about what I think it's really about what that person can take with them. Like, I always tell people, when you develop skill, you're setting yourself apart from others.
Absolutely.
And that's really important as an adult, as a young person growing up, because now it's going to create awareness. Now you're just not going to be an electrical helper.
Right.
You're just not going to be a skid steer driver. You've just been introduced to this gigantic world, this industry where you can go so many different ways
and build on
these
those
skills will take you there. And it's just amazing, and so much as adults pigeonhole people into silos.
Yep.
Well, why do you want all these skid steer drivers in Covington County? Really? Because if that's the way you think, that's why we're in the trouble that we're in.
Absolutely.
Because
it's one thing.
About skid steer
absolutely.
It's about the whole industry. Now this person can go anywhere they want and take the next step. Like, and I think what's really important, the way you guys have done this training is, I told Houston this, but like, I haven't really pulled too much of the industry into my skid steer training, because I want to pull them into the next training. Say, these students have progressed.
Yeah.
Here's what they started with. Here's where they're at. Here's where they're going. And, people from the industry might not hire them just to run that piece of equipment. They're going to hire them to do a multitude of things, but they're going to know that these students or these individuals can take training, they can learn, they can progress, they love the industry.
Yeah. Well, and that
part of building the program with us. That's what's so cool is
at the table
for their input. Like, what skills do you need an individual to have? Like, how do we need to build this? What is relevant in your industry? How do we explain what a day in the life looks like?
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. You talked about coming from Indiana and automotive world. I worked automotive world for 20 plus years, and we would have, new employees walk in the building, and by lunchtime they walked out to their car and left, never came back.
Sure.
They had never been exposed to a facility and operations within an industry. But this gives them that glimpse of, I've got to try this. I get to be in the field. I get to be in the environment. I get to see it. I get to hear it. That was another thing, getting people used to sounds.
Yeah.
So that's what's so
it was
cool.
smells in the hospital. Yeah.
So that's what's so cool about what we can do is like, it's that exposure to training that's never really been done in this way before.
Yeah. And it doesn't, and we don't necessarily use the word free, but I mean, it literally, it doesn't cost you anything, and you get to be introduced to a potential, right? And so we talk about all the time how you really never know where life's going to lead you. So kind of piggybacking off of what you said, Chad, you may be, going through skid steer operator today, but then next month you may have an opportunity and you go through bulldozer, and the next thing you know, and fiber. Right. And the next thing you know, 5 years from now, somebody looks and goes, "Oh, you mean you can do that? Oh, well, yeah, I'll hire you because you did this." And you never really know,
where that can take you.
What it can do for you and the trajectory. I mean, just had a discussion yesterday about how it's so odd how things that seem irrelevant to you at the time later on can come back and be just like it was just right on time. It was exactly what you needed, and it fit in the plan perfectly, and you just didn't know it at the time. So I think
really
all of these
cost isn't an issue. Like, I forget to tell them it's free sometimes.
Oh, by the way,
it is kind of the last thing we say. I mean, it is. And then we
get so excited. We don't think about it as much.
Yeah.
But that's a huge barrier to some people, like you said. So
they'll say, "Well, that sounds great. How much is this?" Like, "Oh, yeah, free."
Yeah.
Like, what?
No way.
But the model is what, the free is bonus, but the model is what's so important.
Yeah. I think that's why we mention it last. It's because it's like the cherry on top. Like you have a good cake, every layer, all the icing, all the flavors, it's all great. And so we tell about that cake. And then the last thing we do is drop the cherry on top, and it's free. And it does. It blows people's minds. So I think you're right.
I think this has the ability to completely change the face of the workforce.
We do too.
No doubt. No doubt.
And I really hope it does.
That's our hope. Yeah, absolutely.
That's my intentions anyway.
Okay, I have to ask this question because you are probably the only person we know within the community college system, probably within a 2-year, 4-year program.
I don't know where you're going.
In most of our country, who put their face, their name, and their phone number on a billboard in your town.
True that.
Tell us about that. I was pretty blown away by that. I thought that was pretty cool.
It really was. We saw that on Facebook.
Tell us about that. How that came to be, what impact that had, what type of phone calls did you get, and did you convert people to get into their courses and start this training?
I think it was a combination of billboard. Having your name and your face out there doesn't bother me. I know a lot of people from around the country in this world. It's just fun. I enjoy it.
But literally, you put your whole self behind it. When you fully committed, you said, "I'm out here. I'm going to be vulnerable. Here's my phone number. Here's my face." And it is,
you want training
big on the side of the road. You said, "I'm all in, buddy."
If you ever hear me talking about something, you'll be able to tell when I don't have passion in my voice. That's when I don't believe it. But when I believe in it, it's easy for people to see that I'm behind this thing 100%. I'm not just trying to sell something. I believe it's the way to educate people. I believe it's the way to train people. It's perfect. It's the perfect model because it doesn't have all that gook in it.
So
That stuff,
that fluff.
mucks up things so bad.
Yeah.
And creates barriers, all kinds. I mean, you can just go on and on.
Well, you think about like any course, and our courses are not like your traditional, like you go and you sit and list a PowerPoint or whatever. Ours are really dynamic and gamified and that kind of thing. But in either case, you think about in that respect how we've all sat in classes and you may have a textbook and the teacher's like, hey, don't pay attention to chapter 3, 12, 18, or ignore pages this through this. And that, again, I mean, there's only pieces and parts of things that might be important in any given scenario. And so we've been able to take what, like Julie mentioned, is really taking what industry said and saying, what is important so that we can kind of cull out the rest, the stuff that doesn't really matter. Yeah, let's focus on what matters and just kind of, get rid of the rest and tell us what you need here in the state of Alabama in your area. Because as we talk to these business and industry folks, they're from all across the state. And so if it's Huntsville or Andalusia or Clanton or Selma, everybody gets a seat at the table and they get to say, well, here are the things that I need. Here are the skills that I'm looking for. And they go down on the list, And so that's how the course is built, is from those skills identified by business and industry themselves. So it's almost like you get to, it's not almost like, I mean, you get to be the author. You get to be the captain of the ship. And I mean, that's what makes it so unique and so fun. I think in a former life, you talked about coming out of the classroom. I taught for 18 years, and I think it was a hugely fulfilling career to watch somebody go from not understanding a concept to then getting it and then getting it even better and then, going out and getting a job. And then now it's almost like I get to see it in a different perspective. Not only do we get to see the students, but we also get to see like the progression of an idea. So for listeners, I mean, right now, Chad and LBW are partnering with us to build electrical laborer course. And so kind of watching something go from a concept, an idea, and then it being fleshed all the way out to the very end when we get to watch this course, like leave the nest, go fly a little birdie, and it go out and do so many good things. It's truly incredible. It literally is like watching a student, learn a hard concept over a long course of time. Like watching that progression of things is just, it's fun. It's just incredible.
It's the way to do it. I know when I was a construction teacher, I could teach kids, and I was the same way. I was a terrible math student. I was not a good student, period. I literally went to college because I could play football.
But look at you now. That's why you never know where you're going to end up.
I know.
You just never know. I think we've all been there.
I didn't understand math till I got on the job site, and then I didn't even think it was math. It was just what I did. I understood it
because you found the relevancy in it.
I could teach kids that couldn't pass, the first entry-level math class how to cut rafters for a house.
Uh-huh.
And those kids could figure it out.
Yeah.
And to me, it was like, man, we're just teaching. We're not teaching the right way.
Yeah. We muddied the water.
We do.
Yeah.
But that's what's cool about these programs. So I think as far as the CDL program, like, there were some great newspaper articles in our area that came out, and of course the sign looked good. And I bet you still we haven't figured out how to get the word out. I know that sounds weird, but like I don't think I've even come close to understanding the capacity of what this program could be here.
You're not alone.
Because we can't get the word out. I don't know how to get the word out efficiently. I've begged Dr. Kelly, let's do a commercial, on the WSFA. I want to do something that big because did you see the Southeast Gas
Yeah.
Videos
Yes.
of-
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a
I watched it
perfect
last night.
commercial?
Showed my.
Oh, it would be
Yes,
an
it would.
absolutely phenomenal commercial. Absolutely.
And I-
And we get it all the time. We didn't know, we think that we are out there
Yeah.
stumping, and we are, and y'all are. I mean, that is it, to have 24 community colleges reaching out in their community, to really kind of vocalize
And
what
our
this
team
effort is.
everywhere
I mean,
across the state. Yeah.
yeah, but you still, and social media, gosh, I mean, Kayla, works from morning to night pushing out social media posts and reels and stories, and I'm going to get all that wrong, and tweets and all kinds of stuff. And
Likes and
still,
reposts.
yeah, and so you're right. And so we hope that, I mean, this podcast and maybe future seasons and that kind of thing, we kind of have to find the right recipe. But you're right. I mean, commercials would be good. I think radio is always effective, social media, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I think all it takes sometimes is like that one voice, like, who do we know that may grab hold of this? And the next thing you know, they're the next spokesperson. And,
So got a hold of our local radio station, and we put a program together where every Friday we went in and did Workforce Fridays.
Yeah.
And we're able to talk about all those programs. And that helped a lot too.
Yeah.
Actually got my heavy equipment instructor from that program.
Did you really?
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
He heard it, called, I interviewed him, said, "You're hired. Let's do it."
That's pretty
He's
cool.
doing a great job.
But you put it out there, and so I think there's probably lots of opportunities. That kind of goes to, like, kind of a question we ask ourselves all the time is, where do we see ourselves, 6 months, a year, 2 years from now? I mean, we've seen, just if we just looked at LBW, the trajectory of involvement of students and your community partners, it's, the trajectory is massive. I mean, it's huge. And that's kind of high schools,
We're an early adopter for getting into our K-12 system, which was awesome to see.
And I think we have, I'm going to guess and say about 300 high schoolers registered for heavy equipment.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
And there's more. I could do more. That's without any open classes yet.
Right.
I haven't built the capacity yet.
Yeah.
Still trying to work.
Well, same, I mean, we're constantly looking, and, we had, I was talking to a guy not too long ago, and he was really kind of amazed. He's a vendor, national vendor. And he said, I mean, I had all these questions for you. He said, but I just have one, like, how are y'all doing what you're doing? And
We get that a lot.
ultimately it comes down to, and I don't know that I've asked, that somebody's asked quite that question in that way or that direct. Sometimes it's just around a table or something. And I said, well, it's really about people, processes, and persevering. Like we just kind of persevere through some obstacles, and we've got such good people at the colleges and involved and on this team and the support and all the folks out there, and then obviously we've had to improve processes along the way of, and that's part of it, is how to get the word out. That's a part of the process, and as
you said, you have to go after it.
You do. And I think that's, it's a little bit like a snowball, going down a hill, although a snowball is destructive. So I don't, that's a negative, but that's kind of the best thing I know, like, because it's growing, and as we grow, it does. It gains traction, and it will get bigger, and the word will get out. It's just, what will be that one trigger that, that gets that voice out there, and all of a sudden everybody, knows that, hey, listen, Alabama, like, you have all of these training options that are 100% no cost to you, and they're offered at 24 different locations around the state. I there's still people that don't know. So I don't have an answer for your question, but it is a process improvement thing.
That's funny. You talk about traction. Like, so when I was a construction teacher, I was getting in that funk. Like, I was getting asked to come back into the industry. Like, I had companies want me to come back and work for them, be a superintendent or whatever. Like, I don't know what to do. My superintendent in high school or at the school sent me to a professional development conference. and which was the greatest thing that ever happened. And I've heard this person talk about pathway, and there's this guy out of Georgia called Zach. His name is Zach Fields, construction ready, and they had an idea of creating a vertical model of construction, elementary, middle school, high school. I heard him talk. I'm like, that's exactly what we have to do. That's how education has to be.
Yeah.
Like, we have to get rid of the junk and put what's important. So I went back and I just kept pestering our superintendent. Finally, she's like, just figure it out. And so I started bringing people in, and I think within 6 months we had a model put together. Our classes went from, the first group was like 20 kids to year 4 when I left, there was over 200 kids in the program.
Dang.
In 600 kid high school.
Wow.
But it's like what you were saying, you just can't quit. You just have to go.
Yeah.
You have to push through, and we're going to figure out how to get the word out. I don't know. Other than social media, I don't know how to do it.
I think you're doing a great job at it. Even your social media posts are spot on. They are. And like we try to follow all of our colleges, and we can't keep up with everything that's going on. We try to in a calendar. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it's just great to see the way that you're capturing those lab days and seeing the students, and what greater success can we see than somebody completing a course, connecting with an employer, finding their way into their career path, and being able to do that in a rapid pace. That's what it's all about. So I love seeing it.
Credential, and then getting it on a transcript. And this is coming from a situation with really a person or that has an opportunity that would have ever sought this out. I mean, we've seen retired military, not general, but what's right under a general, like a colonel, assistant colonel, something like that. And they came through one of the skid steer courses or heavy equipment, to somebody who really never saw themselves, had zero desire to come into any type of formal education, and came through. So, the opportunities for just kind of anybody and everybody, it's what makes it so much fun to be able to offer, because like Julie said earlier, is we just don't have any barriers. There's no reason not to. I mean, and we hear from industry so many times of like, we just really want to get the word out that, our industry is attractive. There's career paths, there's growth, there's, money-making potential, but we just need to get it out there. So that's a lot of, what we enjoy, like watching, is just these industries get their time and to shine, is.
So, there's a formula I use, and I have used for a long time, but it's awareness plus skill development equals a career. And if you don't have one of those first two,
that's beautiful. Yeah.
You're not going to have a career.
Yeah, it's true.
And so we have to create that awareness. Like, I enjoy taking these trainings to our college students.
Oh, yeah.
Because, they're learning a technical trade, or they're learning something. But when you introduce these skills to them, you can see their wheels turn, like, how much bigger is this than I thought it was? Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's great.
And I think, we overlook that. Not that they're a captive audience, but it's something to add to their resume.
Sure.
And I think it also adds some relevancy to the credential.
Sure.
Like when other people are getting these same credentials, that looks good.
Yeah. And it's, we're all guilty of wanting instant gratification from something, and while I mean instant, I don't mean like, in 30 minutes instant. I mean, you go through a 15-hour online experience, and then you go to a 1 or 2 day lab. That's pretty instant to earn a credential, earn a skill set that will then lead to a job. I mean, that's pretty fast in the world of education, which, I mean, again, that can lead to other educational opportunities inside of, the Institute of Education itself. But it's pretty cool to get to watch somebody go from, I just have this thought, to now, I have a full skill set, and now I can go get a job. Never even thought that this was even an option,
Yeah. I think some of the funnest, most fun classes. Like our diesel tech students, when they take our heavy equipment classes, they're awesome because they start digging in
Yeah.
and they start telling our instructor what these things do. Oh,
Wow.
this is the double turbo, whatever,
Yeah.
And, I never saw one of these before. I mean, they just take it to a whole nother
The relevancy in that
Yeah.
is so cool.
level. Yeah. And, they're excited about being able to drive something that they're going to be able to take care of
To work on.
someday or be an owner operator. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, it just opened their eyes to everything.
Yeah. We had one of the, and no, we talk about this group so much because I think they were so impactful, but we had a skid steer operator. Well, she started off as a skid steer operator. She came to one of the labs and we come to find out she was a governmental contractor, or she was contracted by the governmental contractor over in Afghanistan. And so she came back and she took a skid steer course, and then she wanted to take a bulldozer course, and then she wanted to take the CDL courses. I don't know. A was one of them, and maybe B. Wanted to take that. And then ultimately, she wanted to own her own business and transport equipment from site to site. That's why she wanted the CDL, was to be able to carry equipment from site to site and obviously own that equipment and, run her own operating business. And I mean,
Yep.
True entrepreneurship.
Oh, absolutely. So to go from making government contract money, which I'm sure was pretty doggone good, over in Afghanistan for years. I mean, she was over there, I don't remember how many years, but it was greater than 5 years. And so to have that and realize that, hey, if I did this, it will lead to these things. And now look at what an injection in the arm that did to, her financial stability, which she may have already been financially stable. I'm sure she was. But, in terms of like a second career, or even to her community who may be in need of that business owner, those operators that she will employ, it'd be nice to kind of circle back and see where she is and know.
To get her on our podcast.
We should get her on our podcast. I think I even remember her name. But anyway, so yeah, just it's like the sky's the limit, to be cliche-ish. But I mean, really, you could take one opportunity and, if you do it right, you can turn it into multiple opportunities. It just kind of depends on who you are and what you're willing to do and how far out of the box you can think.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Chad,
if you don't have awareness, nothing that can happen.
Yeah.
that's right. Well, we're winding down on our time, but I have to ask this, and I know anybody who's watching is going to say, why is John Wayne over your shoulder?
He's got my back. That's my guy.
I love it.
I'm a John Wayne nut.
Good
I have-
answer. Good answer.
Now, was John
I have
Wayne
people get me.
Gunsmoke? Is that, or no?
No.
No? Oh, I just did it. I stepped in it. I didn't realize I
That's
stepped in it.
James,
Okay.
James Arness.
My bad. Okay, tell us a little bit
Those
about
are-
why John Wayne is
Got your back.
has your back. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I just got into Westerns. I think my parents and my grandparents watched Westerns, and it just wrote me into it. I always just thought it was cool and followed John Wayne, as long as I could, and have all his cowboy movies. My kids laugh at me, and my wife laughs at me because he's such a dramatic actor. He's just awesome. He has great.
Yes.
He's a great character.
Well, that's probably one of the only Western actors that I would remember his name. But yeah, you're right. He was in so many Westerns. I saw that also growing up. My granddad would watch Westerns nonstop. Had them on VHS tape. Now my dad has them. And he's like,
that's great.
I want to pull out a Western to watch. I'm
Yeah.
like, we have seen them
On the VHS.
on the
tape.
VHS. We still have
Gotta
it.
love
at
it.
My parents' house.
Gotta love it.
That is so cool. But that's great. John
Yeah.
Wayne has your back. I love it. Well, Chad, any closing thoughts or remarks you want to share with the audience, and why these programs, why you've had such a good, not really start, but I mean, just progression of continually being able to offer opportunity in the Andalusia and and all of the surrounding areas that your school serves?
Yeah. Well, I hope I can say that you haven't seen anything yet. I hope that's true.
Oh, love it. Challenge.
I just when I talked about capacity, I mean it. You can only do so much, but
Yeah.
as you do more and build more capacity, and I don't think these trainings aren't going anywhere. and the model's not going anywhere.
Yep.
And it's what industry has been looking for. I'm telling you, as somebody who's been on the education side, dealing with industry before in Indiana, they would have ate this up because that's what they liked about some of the trainings that we did up there with high school students. I just believe it's the right model. I think that's the way we have to go, and I do believe the face of workforce is changing. It's getting more efficient. I think it's going to be great.
We do too. We've heard we're the first in the country to do it. I don't know if that's accurate, if anybody's actually tracked that down or not, but I think the way we do it is pretty cool. We don't we talk about our product a lot, but we don't really talk about ourselves. But I think you bring a lot of what we think we have, which is passion to watch, change happen for someone, for opportunity to happen for someone. And I think if we weren't passionate about what we do and the team and the product and the change, that we hope to see these courses impact on people. Anyway, all that to be said, Chad, you are a star in our system, and we are so thankful and appreciative for you, which is why we wanted to have you on today to talk to you about that and kind of highlight all the greatness of the thoughts and processes that you have in place to make this even better.
Yeah.
I appreciate it very much. I appreciate working with everybody, and the response you get is amazing. I do have one request.
Oh,
I mentioned this before, Houston.
Let me write it down. Oh, so you've already asked Houston.
Is there a way, like, we could develop some kind of professional development training just specifically designed for these things, for the skills for success, so that I think when you listen to what other people are doing, I don't think taking and doing exactly what they do is a good thing. I think you need to think about it a little bit and what works in your community, but being able to pick up on what other people do. Like, I don't have a lot of people to bounce things off of other than Houston, which he'll tell you that I bug him.
Never bugging Houston. No.
I talk to my president a lot too, but being able to talk to other people who are doing these things.
You mean like how we did with how Gary did with the CDL professional development? Is that kind of what you mean? Like just to get a roundtable discussion, even if it was like virtual, just to kind of talk through and bounce ideas off of. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, because we're so busy. Like we're just so unbelievably busy.
Yeah,
and it's great, but there's always room to grow and get better. I think.
I love that idea.
Yeah, I do too.
Not seeking people out and doing that, you're going to get stale at some point.
And you're kind of growing your own. You're giving yourself a community, like you say, because there are, one man, one woman, two woman, two man shows out there, where it is. I think we learn best from each other and watching success and kind of modeling after, another way and then making it yours. So I think it's brilliant.
There's a lot of value in learning from others.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can see things, but until you really break it down.
Yeah.
Okay. In the industry, you'll like this. We used to ask the 5 whys, right? 5 whys. You kind of break down to the root cause of why you're doing what you're doing. And I love that idea. Just breaking down skills for success, what works, what doesn't work, lessons learned.
I think that's why labs work too.
Improvement.
Yeah. I mean, it's the practicality of things. Yeah. It's, what's working, what's not, and like learning from somebody else. And, that's why our hybrid model is great, for, getting to go through it quickly and learn the information quickly and the need to know stuff, but then also kind of getting in that community of learners, and that you're not spending weeks on end with. But I mean, at the same time, you're getting to rally together and go through a process or a piece of equipment or, concepts and that kind of stuff, So I think it's the same thing. I think it's just on a different...
And support each other as well. So
yeah.
So important.
Absolutely.
I think there's a group of us workforce people here in the South. There's just 3 or 4 of us, but we're on a group chat. I tell you what, that's so valuable.
Yeah.
To run stuff by people and hear what they're doing, and they're willing to help you. And
so important.
that's what I need.
Yeah.
So if you need help with that,
they're in your alliance. I tell them all the time, I'm a long time watcher of Survivor. And I think there's so many life lessons, and Jeff Probst can come on and be a voice for us anytime. But Survivor, I think, has a lot of life lessons in that, yeah, you do form alliances with people. And so they're your alliance, and you're kind of vulnerable with them, and you grow with them, and that kind of thing. So I think that's perfect. And I think that's a great idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Let's do it.
All right.
Do it.
Challenge accepted.
Well, thank you, Chad Sutton from Lurleen B, Wallace Community College. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your leadership, and from Dr. Kelly as well. We appreciate everything that you all are doing in South Alabama, and anything you need, reach out to our team anytime. Thank you to our listeners. Thanks for joining in today. If you haven't done so, please remember to like, listen, subscribe, all of that wonderful. Follow us on podcast platforms to keep our show going. We appreciate you being with us today. Thank you, Chad.
And what's it called again?
We are Innovation Unplugged.
Innovation Unplugged.
Innovation Unplugged. Yep.
Got it.
All right. Well, take care. Have a great rest of your day.